My name is James Gorry. I'm the head of communications at Ubisoft Leamington and Ubisoft Reflections. That's the two Ubisoft studios here in the UK. You might recognize the name Ubisoft. We've created some of the world's biggest game series: Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Prince of Persia, Just Dance, all of the Tom Clancy games. And I've been at Ubisoft for almost 3 years now. Before that, I didn't work in games at all, so I'm brand new to the sector. So for me, as a lifelong gamer, starting a job here has been a real kind of dream come true. Now it's time to meet our panelists, so I'll ask all the panelists to turn their cameras on. We have two panelists from Ubisoft that work with me in the Ubisoft Leamington studio, and then we have two from another studio here in Leamington Spa called Third Kind Games. So to make this easy and to avoid the awkward kind of you go first and I'll go first, let's just do it in alphabetical order. If you could tell me your name, where you work, your job title, and actually what that means. As I said, I'm brand new to the industry, so there's a lot of job titles I still don't really understand. So if you could let me know what the average day is, what you might do working on a game, that'd be really great to know, and I'm sure our audience would appreciate that too. Also, if you could just give a very brief overview about kind of maybe what you studied or how you entered the industry, that'd be really good to know too for a lot of our audience. Felipe, we'll start with you. If you could take it away.
Hi there. My name is Felipe Narguilo. I have been working in the games industry for just about 3 years now. I work as a programmer, which means that I'm the person that makes the world be alive. So if you're playing a game, you control a character. I'm the person that makes the character movement happen. And that's pretty much my day-to-day job as a programmer at Third Kind Games.
Amazing, thank you. Now we'll hand over to our first Ubisoft panelist. So Fern, take it away.
Hi, I'm Fern Griffiths. I'm an intermediate level designer at Ubisoft Leamington. I've only been in the game industry just coming up for 2 years now. So Ubisoft is my first job, and I got in on the graduate program, which was pretty cool and been the best experience so far.
Amazing. Now, Lucia, if you could give us an intro.
Hello, I'm Lucia. I'm from Spain. I've been here in Ubisoft Leamington for about 3-4 years now, I think, and I work as an economy designer, which is quite similar to game design, in that we make all the decisions, the fundamentals about the game and how it works, but we focus on features about progression, rewards, crafting, and then we also look into monetization and things like that. But I know it's quite a niche area, so any questions you have, just feel free to shoot them.
Amazing. And then finally, last but not least, Yao, also from Third Kind Games. Take it away, Yao.
Hello, so my name is Yao. My role at Third Kind Games is that I am a UI UX designer. What that means is that I look at different ways for users to interact with our products, and then specifically through the UI. So which buttons do they press, which options do they select to get the result that they want, and I try to improve that to give the player the best experience that we can. That's me.
Amazing. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. I know it's going to be a really exciting discussion. So as I said, please do jump into the Q&A, ask any questions. We'll get to them at the end, and any we don't get around to answering in today's session, we're going to make sure we kind of write some answers the old-fashioned way and also get them sent out to you. So before we dive into the Q&A, I'm going to ask a few questions of my own first, just to kind of get that conversation started. So again, if we could just do this kind of alphabetically. So Felipe, we'll come to you first. Could you tell me a bit about when you realized like a game, or kind of a career in games was a possibility? Like for you, was it something you always wanted to do, or was it something that you kind of didn't realize could be possible until you maybe got your first job in the industry or something like that? Could you talk a bit more about when you realized that careers in games existed?
For me, I was lucky enough to find it from an early age. I grew up playing video games, so for me, I was always interested in coding, programming, mostly because my parents always worked with IT as well, so I kind of grew up in their environment already. And being a gamer myself, I kind of was lucky enough to get into that kind of early on in my life. So basically, games is something I always wanted to do, and I knew that from an early age too.
Great. And Fern, the same question for you. When did you I know your kind of entry into the industry was maybe a bit different to some people, or it wasn't something you always kind of anticipated you'd be doing with your adult
Yeah.
life, with your grown-up job. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that games was an option until COVID. As a kid, I wanted to be a vet, which obviously did not work out, which is a good thing because I don't think I would have been a very good vet. But I did love films. Initially, I was going down kind of like animation and visual effects. I thought I was going to do like modeling for environments and sets, but it wasn't. I don't know, I wasn't completely in love with it. And then COVID happened, and I was like, I can't do anything, can't go outside, I'm stuck. So I bought a PlayStation. And yeah, just playing the games, I was like, this is amazing. Like, people make these. What roles out there are there? And initially, I thought it would be environment art because I'd kind of done a little bit of that. And then I discovered level design. I was like, oh, this is exactly like my thing. It covered every aspect of what I loved about playing games and being involved in that story and getting to like influence player choice and all of that. So for me, yeah, it was fairly late, only 4 years ago. But yeah, if you know what you want to do, you can like really go for it and throw yourself into it, which is nice about the games industry.
Amazing. Sorry, just to quickly kind of come back to that as well. When you were kind of realizing maybe this is something you could do, where did you look for kind of information about kind of different roles or different opportunities?
So it was kind of like a mix of places. I look on YouTube. There's a lot of really good resources on there. Like you've got all the GDC talks. For level design, you've got Level Design Lobby, which is like an amazing resource, even if it's not level design you're interested in. It just covers a lot of aspects of game design. A lot of it actually came from seeing a job advert at Ubisoft that kind of listed all the things you needed to get in as a graduate level designer. And I was like, okay, I now know what I need. I just need to figure out how I actually show that I can do this stuff. So once I kind of figured that out, I was like, okay, now I can commit and I'll go and get a degree. But before then, it was a lot of YouTube and Discord chats like Design Den and Level Design Lobby and just annoying people into hopefully giving me questions and answers and stuff. But yeah, it worked out. Everyone's really friendly. So if you message someone, 9 times out of 10, they'll message you back and point you in the right direction, which is really nice.
That's something I've really discovered. Like, you know, I'm much older than I assume most of the panelists today, but actually coming to this industry, everyone is so helpful. Everyone's really friendly. Everyone wants to make the best games they can. So it feels really collaborative in that sense. Brill, thanks, Fern. Lucia, kind of same question for you, really. When did you realise, have you always wanted to be an economy designer, or have you kind of changed careers? What was in the industry? Like, when was the moment you realised that you could work in this industry?
Similar as with Fern, I always played games growing up, but I never thought of the people making them. It was like this magical thing that happened. I didn't realize, like she said, that people actually make these. So I went to uni for product design engineering, which is a specific variant of mechanical engineering. I've always been into sort of the logical thinking and the numbers, but then I also really like the creativity and being able to like make things and prototype and things like that. And I was set on a career in that. I really enjoyed my degree. And then COVID happened and lots of presential graduate schemes got canceled. And so I had to look again. And I went back to LinkedIn and looked for jobs. And I came across an opportunity in Ubisoft. At the time, it was for technical art, which is how I started. And I read through it, I was like, what the hell is technical art? But that sounds kind of like me, but what is it like? I need to know. So reading through it, realized that the transferable skills from my engineering and my design background really fitted into technical art and gave it a go. And here I am today, so a bit by chance.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And then finally, Yao, you can probably guess exactly what I'm going to ask you, but it's the same question I've asked everyone else. For you, when did you realize that you could kind of start a career in games?
So my bachelor education was in art, so I went to an art academy, and then during one of the years, we had a collaboration to pitch like a game for one of our quarterly tasks, and they invited someone from Guerrilla Games to come and do like a speech and tell us about their job, and that was really inspiring just to know you could work in the entertainment industry as an artist in games. So that's kind of how my interest got sparked. And I was an avid gamer as well. So I think playing some games, really understanding which bits of a game that you like and which bits you already have some natural like gear talents towards, for example, creating art or perhaps planning. Like the games industry needs all of these skills. So if you already have some things that you like, then you can work towards that and then try to see where it overlaps with the needs of the industry later on.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all of those answers. I've got one more question for all of you, but I think this time we'll go in reverse alphabetical order just to give people a little break. So yeah, we'll come to you straight away. We've all talked about skills a little bit in those first answers. So I suppose for those people kind of watching today, for those kind of classrooms all up and down the country, for people that are interested in maybe starting a career in games, even if it's a few years away yet, maybe if they're kind of still in school, how do you, or do you have any top tips or any recommendations for how people could maybe kind of develop some skills already, or think about, I guess, how to grow kind of, is it all about the portfolio you have, or is it actually just about the kind of the basic skills you have? Is it more about how you work with other people? Are there any top tips that you can get as a kind of an expert working in this industry about kind of how people might get ready to be able to join the industry as easily as possible?
Yeah, so my opinion is really asking yourself what your interests are. So for myself, I was very interested in arts, like creating things, but I know other people might be really interested in mathematics or like programming, and then others would be in managing or organizing. So ask yourself what are the interests that you have, and then industry professionals will explain to you all the different roles that they occupy, and then see where there might be a match. For myself, because I was really interested in art, I knew socially I wasn't as where I wanted to be. So I went into event organizing for a while just to improve those skills. So that's definitely something you can do. Just know what are your interests and how does that overlap with anything within the industry. And if you feel like there's any shortcomings, there are many other ways you can take to improve. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the industry. That you could work part-time jobs to improve those skills as well.
Amazing, thank you. Lucia, same question for you. You talked about a bit about your degree and kind of how skills are transferable. Is there anything that you kind of wish you could have told younger Lucia to kind of get her ready to join the industry?
Yeah, I think, a lot about game design is thinking about a game critically and understanding the systems that go behind it, the bigger picture of that, everything that goes on. So for me, just playing your favorite games, but like playing them with your design brain sort of switched on, being able to understand what's working, what's not, what you like, what you don't. Take notes, we're always taking inspiration from other games. So take notes on the system that you like and how you can implement them. Now that you've got summer coming up, maybe try making a board game. I don't know, because making a video game is kind of daunting, especially if you're not a programmer and you are a bit, But yeah, try making a board game with pieces of paper and cardboard. And see how that goes. It's any valuable experience that you can gain and put in your portfolio and showing your development.
Amazing, thank you. And Fern, same question for you. Like, what top tips would you give to young Fern who wanted to be a vet, and then maybe thought, during COVID, a different career was probably a bit of a better option? What do you wish you could tell yourself? What top tips?
I think the biggest thing, particularly coming straight out of school, is like don't be afraid to like fail. I think in school particularly, there's so much pressure of like getting things perfect, and you've got to finish things, and you've got to know exactly what you're doing because you're picking a degree, but before that you're picking your A levels or what college course you want to do. But actually in the games industry, like half the things I do fail, but that's actually a good thing, and I learn from it every time. And we've got like a mentality of fail fast, and it's like you work out what doesn't work, what's fun, and actually it's not scary. That's a good thing, because like coming into this, I was like such a perfectionist, and I was like, oh, if this doesn't work out, I have to restart, and that's going to hold everyone else up. But everyone's been like, no, just try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And that was such like a mental shift, particularly coming from like school where it was everything has to be perfect. So yeah, just try, like Lucia said, like make a board game, make a game. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. Just the fact that you've given it a go kind of helps you see if this is something you'd want to do without having to commit too much sort of time or money if you want to go to uni to it. You can do this quite easily without having to invest too much sort of like monetary value into it. Like Unity and Unreal are all free. You've got YouTube courses. Just don't be too scared. Just give it a go and see what happens, basically.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And then finally, Felipe, same question for you. Any top tips for potential kind of people thinking about joining the industry?
I'd say curiosity is probably the first thing, because that's how I got into it to begin with. I was just curious to find out how the games are created, how to make things on the screen happen. I remember the first game I created was just a copy of Space Invaders. And something as simple as that is something that I actually put on my portfolio when I applied to work at Deadkind 3 years ago. And I think if you want to get into games, you just need to give it a go, especially nowadays where I think Fred mentioned you've got some great free resources online like Unity, Unreal. You can pick those up and make a simple game fairly quickly, and you can get a feel for what aspects of the games industry you like the most. Because I remember when I was younger, I didn't try just programming. I tried a bunch of 3D art. I tried to be a designer too. I tried all the different aspects, and programming specifically was the one that I liked the most. I had I learned the easiest, but you've got to just put yourself out there, be curious. When you play a game, try to think about the aspects of that game that you like. And if you're curious enough, then just go and try and replicate that. And the truth is, the first time you do it, you will probably fail because those things are difficult. But you've got to try so you learn.
So what I'm learning from a lot of you is actually failing is completely okay and part of the process, which makes me feel a lot better for those days where nothing ever seems to go right for me personally. So I'll take that energy. We've got a couple of minutes before we're going to have watch a quick video and then have a break to kind of gather some more questions. So really quickly, and it should be quite a quick answer, I think, although it is quite a difficult question. So apologies in advance. We all work in the games industry. What are your favorite video games? What's your favorite video game to play? Felipe, I'll start with you with zero kind of notice on that, but what is it? What's the one game that you always go back to, or the one game that you loved playing?
World of Warcraft. Although I try to avoid it playing nowadays because I don't have the time, but it is a game that I've always played when I was younger. Warcraft 3 was the game that made me want to make games in the first place, so I always revisit that one as well with a lot of passion, because it's the game that gave me inspiration.
Amazing. When I was in school, World of Warcraft first came out, and I regularly stopped hanging out with friends to go and play it, and they got really annoyed with me really quickly because I was spending all my time in Warcraft and not actually seeing them in real life, which I learned that lesson very quickly. Lucia, over to you. What's your favorite game of all time?
Oh, it's hard, isn't it? But to me, the one that always stood close to my heart was Super Mario Galaxy. I played that game a million times when I was a kid growing up, and it still holds a dear space in my heart.
Amazing. Fern, over to you. What's your favorite game?
Oh God, I can't choose between two. It's got to be The Witcher 3 and The Last of Us, just because The Last of Us kind of got me into loving video games. But The Witcher 3 is just, I've read the books. I grew up with those books, so it holds a special place in my heart.
Amazing. And then finally, Yao, over to you. Like, what's that one game that you love and you will defend to the ends of the earth?
Oh, I think it would be a recent one. It would be Baldur's Gate 3. It's just amazing. If you like D&D, then this is like D&D, the video game. So, but growing up, I played lots of Pokemon, but I really like the old pixel art Pokemon. Nothing feels the same.
Amazing. Yeah. Kind of agree with all of those choices. A big fan of all of those games. You've all got amazing taste, so well done. Particularly Baldur's Gate 3. It actually got me into DMing my own D&D campaign because I love playing it so much. I'm not a great DM, but it's fun to get around a table and be super nerdy all together. For now, I'm going to start off with kind of Aidan Randall's question, who says, it's a question for everyone. So if you all get your cameras back on, that would be fantastic. Aidan says, we'd love to hear about your proudest moments in your current job role. So Felipe and Yao, you're on our screen first. So Felipe, if you want to take us away with that one.
Proudest moments. I think probably a couple of weeks ago, actually, when we helped Rare ship Sea of Thieves to PlayStation 5. Because Sea of Thieves is a game that I personally played hundreds of hours. And then when we were helping them and we got that release out of the window and we saw how successful the game was on PlayStation 5, I felt, it felt like I accomplished something that was quite important to me because I actually really love the game as well.
Amazing. And then Yao, if there's anything you want to talk about.
In one of my previous job roles, I worked on a game and I was asked to make the app icon as well as the splash art, as well as some of the other things within the game, which then players reacted to on social media, saying how much they liked it. So that felt really, really satisfying, really, really good.
Amazing. Fern, if we can go to you next.
I've not released a game yet, so it's going to be that as soon as we release the project I'm working on. But I guess at the moment it was getting my promotion a couple of months back, so I made it up to intermediate level designer, which always seemed a bit kind of, I don't know, unachievable at times. I always felt like I didn't belong in the industry at times because I was like so new to it, and yeah, I didn't really start playing games till like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's always felt a bit like, I don't know, reassuring to know that lack of childhood like obsession wasn't a hindrance, and actually there's like been a place for me and I've been able to like grow, and yeah, so that.
I find that really interesting as well because we work with a lot of people, and I can think of people that I know we will both know Fern that just they work in they work in the industry, especially on the more kind of operational side of it. Because I forget, you think about. I tell people I work for a video game studio, and they say, "Oh wow, do you make video games?" And I'm like, no, but I work with the really cool people that do that. And I think that's the thing about the creative industry is there are so many other roles, kind of behind the scenes. So actually, you can work in games without kind of being a lifelong gamer or having a passion for games, since you were born. And I think that's really cool. It's really nice that it's not just about people that love games, because I think that's the best way to get so many different perspectives and so much different experience by kind of thinking about people that aren't just gamers or aren't just players. Cool. And then finally, Lucia, if there's kind of anything you want to add about your proudest moment so far?
For me, it would be really simple. Just the first time that I saw something I had designed on the game, I saw it on the screen and you could access it, you could go to it. I was like, that's it, I've made it in life.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So now we'll move to we'll stick with you actually, Lucia. Zachary asks, what made you interested in art and video games as a whole? So what was it specifically about this element of games that you were kind of interested in?
Yeah, well, I've always really liked design in general. I did product design, so the thought of making a product for somebody, it's having to understand the person you're working for and catering to their needs. So I think games are just like the epitome of that. It's a lot of people, a lot of disciplines coming together to make an experience, deliver an experience that's gonna get somebody really feeling emotional about a game and feeling, completely devoted to it. So to me, it was like a natural step almost.
Amazing, thank you. Now to move on, a question from an anonymous attendee. Wow, mysterious. But they say, how much did qualifications matter compared to genuine interest when applying kind of to your job or to kind of university? And I suppose, Fern, this is maybe we can start with you on this one because it's something you've just kind of covered in an answer you've just given. But I suppose, what was that interview process like as someone that's still relatively new to games? Although I do think as soon as you play a game once, I think you're officially a gamer. Could you talk a bit about what you think, I guess, what was that process like? How did you kind of show that you're interested or kind of how your skills are relevant kind of to this industry more broadly?
Yeah, I'd agree with you that once you kind of play the game, it's a bug, it bites you and you're a gamer. Because like once I got into it, I was like, yeah, I'm never not going to be playing games. Like this is going to be a hobby for the rest of my life. So that passion came pretty quick. It's just sometimes always felt a bit like needing to justify coming into it late, which actually most people I've talked to, that's never been an issue, which has always been really nice. A lot of it was just explaining why I transitioned into games and like what that connection was. There's a lot of transferable skills. I came in from like more of a film side after leaving veterinary. I went down the animation route. So for me, I was like, well, film and games has a lot of overlap. The main difference is games actually let you participate in the storytelling and the action, whereas for videos and film, you're just kind of like an active watcher, but you're not actually making choices, or you don't have the illusion of choice. So it was kind of explaining what skills I had, how I could apply those to games. And it's that thing, there is so much transferable skills in this whole industry. So if you're passionate, that passion comes across and people know. So if you want to wax lyrical about your favorite video game, do, because someone else in that interview is probably just as in love with that game, or they'll be like, have a recommendation of like, oh, you should try this game. I think that's my favorite thing in interviews is half the time the first question is, what is everyone playing? And it is the best icebreaker because you're like, these are my people. You'd still have that like imposters syndrome, and I think that's massive in this industry. Everyone kind of has it, but because everyone has it, you're like, oh well, if they can do it, I can do it. So it's all good.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. I think for me, it was a time when I can't remember what the game was, but a big game had come out. And before, in every other job I'd had previously, I kind of like hide my video game self. Whereas in working at Ubisoft, my first game in the industry, everyone at lunch was like talking about it, and I suddenly realised these are my people, and I should have been here all along. That felt like a really kind of special moment for me. Kind of Yao, Felipe, thinking about that, thinking about kind of passion versus qualifications versus experience. Is there anything you want to add about, I guess, how you kind of talk about that, or how you communicate that, or kind of when kind of thinking about what you wanted to study, or thinking about where you wanted to, I guess, when you were in an interview talking about why you'd want a certain job, could you talk a bit about kind of, I guess, how you navigated that, or what you did there?
I guess I can start. From a qualification point of view, for me is an interesting day because I don't have a university degree. I'm completely self-taught, and I got into an interview basically showing my portfolio, like the things that I've done in my free time, and my passion for games. Because I remember, like Fran said, the first thing that I was asked when I attended the interview was like, "What games are you playing?" And that kind of sparked a whole conversation about it. And I feel like for games specifically, I feel like portfolio showing what you can do for that role is probably a lot more important than a university degree. Don't get me wrong, university degree is quite important because you kind of have the the learning path that you might not otherwise have on your own. But if you are going to uni, also make sure that you are preparing a portfolio for your interviews as well. I think the portfolio is arguably the most important part because the video games industry is driven by passion. So if you have a portfolio, it might not even be perfect. You might not even have a game that looks all that innovating. We're not looking for that. We're looking for, do you actually have a passion for making games, and do you want to make a good game?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Felipe says. I think if you choose to go to a university, whatever they teach you will be a strong foundation. So you'll have a good understanding of a very specific topic. But every single time I've applied for a job, I've just glazed over my university degree. No one's ever asked me specifically, where did you study? What did you study? The real interest is in the portfolio. So what I've done for my previous couple of jobs is always go to my portfolio. First, always ask, is there anything you specifically want me to talk about? Otherwise, I just take the interviewer through one of my projects. So from start to end, they're very interested in the whole process. Like, how do you think? What is your sketch phase? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And if you're able to show that step by step, they know that in the actual role, you'll be able to approach any problem in the same way and solve it for them. So that's really what recruiters are interested in, that you can do the actual job and prove that with a portfolio rather than a degree.
Amazing. So actually, I just want to kind of ask another question about the portfolio. So yeah, if we can stick with you as you were just talking about it, what should go into a portfolio? Like, it's quite a big word. It's quite for someone that's maybe kind of one of the audience members of this call. It can be something quite scary if you've never kind of had a job in the industry. Like, what kind of things for you are in your portfolio right now, for example? And when you were first starting out, what kind of things did you put into that? And I will ask across the board for this question, but yeah, if you could start us off, that'd be great.
Yes, definitely. Really depends what role you're going for. So if you've done your initial exploration of roles that you might be interested in, you could build a portfolio specific for that role that you're interested in. So in my case, when I started off, I was interested in art. I was interested in drawing, concept art. So the portfolio I built was made out of a few pieces of what I thought at the time was my best art pieces to prove I'm able to draw, I'm able to create this world for games. Nowadays, I'm more focused on UI, so my portfolio now consists of all this UI research, style explorations, and to show to what extent I understand UI, I try to include everything. So I can do animation, so I'll do an example of what it looks like in my portfolio, VFX, shaders, like everything just try to pick the best work you have and then condense it in a way that's easy for you to present to a recruiter.
I think what Yao said basically sums up everything. Make sure that your portfolio is tailored for that specific job role. So my portfolio, for example, I had just loads of game demos that I created over the years. Like most of them were basically clones of other games. Because for a programmer, in the sense of when I applied, they weren't exactly looking for someone that was particularly creative, because the creative part is the designers come up to me with an idea and I just need to put that idea into code. So a lot of my portfolio was just like algorithms. How do I solve certain like specific problems? For example, collision. How do you solve collision in a 3D game? That kind of stuff. So it really depends on what kind of role you're looking for. If you're looking for a programmer role, then try and come up with a technical kind of like portfolio where you have different demos. It doesn't even have to be anything playable. It can be literally just like you making a cube draw on the screen from scratch without the use of an engine, for example. And that alone is already, it puts you miles ahead of the competition.
Great, thank you. Lucia, same question for you. So kind of in the kind of roles you do, kind of what would you put into a portfolio? How would you start that portfolio? But also, I suppose, where would that portfolio live as well? Would it be online? Would you have it on the website? Would it be a Google Drive? That kind of thing. Like, I guess kind of really, really kind of basic info. Like how would you start building that portfolio and what would you put in it?
Yeah, when I started building mine, when I joined university, I took any assignment, any project that I enjoyed, I put it in, even if they weren't perfect. Like Jia was saying earlier, it's all about showing that progress from sketches to prototyping to iteration. Even if there's no final product, because sometimes things fail and you stop, it doesn't matter, you put it in. And when I started, I had it like a physical one with cutouts and writing and stuff. Eventually it became a PDF that I made in InDesign. And then with time, I built a website because I caught on the fact that a lot of people were doing websites and it's a lot easier to keep it updated and stuff. So I have a website on like a free website builder that you can find online. And yeah, it's just such a good way of just sending a link and that's it, all your work.
Amazing, thank you. And then finally, on this question, Fern, any advice for building a portfolio and what you put into it?
Yeah, for level design, it's mainly kind of showing your thinking. We're not asking sort of anyone ever to kind of create their own like character controller or game mechanics from scratch, because that's not what a level designer does. That's more game design or like programming. So feel free to use other assets from other people to like make your levels. It's more about showing you can take mechanics and actually make a really fun and interesting level. You can, and this is what I tend to do, is just like pick a game that you love and you build a level that's kind of based off that universe, because then you're not bogged down trying to do all the lore building and world building, which again, that's not level design, that's another department. But it shows that you can take what other departments have done and apply it to your level design work, because that's what level design does a lot of. We kind of, with a meeting point of like narrative and environment art, character, music, lighting, all of that, and level designers just there trying to bring it all together in a really fun experience. So if you can show that through your portfolio, even if it's really rough, that's fine. Like playthrough videos are the best, but if you can't do that, just having a breakdown and like pictures showing this is what I wanted to achieve, this is how I've done it, and this is the end result. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's more just like that thought process of this is like I used framing here because I wanted to draw this player's attention, and then someone reading that will be like, okay, this wasn't an accident, this was like a deliberate sort of thing, they know what they're doing. So yeah, it's more just proving your thought process out a lot of the time. I had an art station originally, which is not very good for level designers. Great for artists, but not the most user friendly if you've got a lot of text. So now I've got my own website, and like Lucia said, it's much easier to like maintain and keep it up to date, which is quite nice.
So thank you again to all of our panelists, kind of Fern and Lucia from Ubisoft, Yao and Felipe from Third Kind Games. It's been kind of amazing to learn a bit more about kind of what you do and what makes you all tick, and also why you love working in this industry, which is a kind of extraordinary industry. And I'm kind of super thankful and glad every day I get to come to work in it. Thanks very much, and thanks again to the panelists. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.